Just another brother with another humble question. Just another brother with another humble question.
Welcome to another episode of A Brother with Questions. I am your host, B. Period. Man, I appreciate y'all for joining me. Before we get started, let me not forget to ask you to like and subscribe to the channel. Just hit that little like button. And then do me a favor, hit the little bell for the notification button as well, so you know when these videos are dropping. And don't forget to comment and share, man. That's how the algorithm knows you like this video. So we're going to dive in, man. I'm breaking a rule here because I haven't watched a Vlad TV video in probably maybe 5 years, but I saw this clip right here on the internet, and I just thought, somebody need to hear this. and so I'm breaking my rule, and we're going to play this Vlad video here. But it is by Grant Cardone. Grant Cardone, for those that don't know, is a successful real estate guy to the tune of I think he's a billionaire. But if he's not a billionaire, I know he at least says he's worth several $100 million. But I believe he is also a billionaire. But real estate is where he has a lot of money tied up in, and then he's, of course, as most billionaires do, has branched out into a lot of other different things as well. But here in this video, he is talking about the different success level of races in America. So let's check them out.
Aren't like, it goes like this, okay? It goes, brown are the wealthiest income earners and asset owners in America.
Brown meaning what?
Indian.
Indian. Okay.
Then it's Asian.
Okay.
I think you guys are right there, number 3.
The Jews?
Number 3 spot, because y'all get into a whole bunch of other bullshit.
There's not that many of us, though. There's way less Jews than
no, 100%. But I mean, by GDP and by population, you guys are fucking like outstanding, outliers. Great. Then it's the white people in the middle. Okay, now the black and browns are bottom 2 groups, black and brown.
Black and Hispanic, yeah.
Yeah.
Because you already said brown is Indian.
But the most embarrassing stat there is you're a fucking privileged white person in America, and you're in the fucking middle.
So, as you can see, he likes to use colorful language as well. So he says Indian Americans are at the top. Asians Americans are in the right underneath that. Then you have your white people, and then blacks and Hispanics are all the way at the bottom. I'm gonna let him finish talking about this clip, and then I'm gonna show you a little bit of research that I did to see sort of where these points came from. But let him finish out his thought here about white people here.
It's disgusting. You got education available to you, healthcare available to you, fucking lawyers available to you, banks available to you. You can walk in anywhere, nobody fucking, and you still couldn't fucking.
So you're saying all these people are wasting their whiteness? That's what you're saying,
dude. Yeah. Like, ain't no way another fucking race is gonna beat me to the top of the food chain, and I'm white.
And you
it's interesting about men like Grant Cardone. Grant Cardone and Donald Trump are very similar people, and there's a lot of other men like them who don't have as much money as they have that are the same, but there's a confidence in who they are where they will tell you truth regardless of what anybody else has to say about it. And so, one of the things that I'll appreciate about men like them is that they're not afraid to speak truth regardless of what anybody thinks. And so, like he says, you have Indian Americans at the top. You have Asians right behind them, white people somewhere in the middle, and then black and Hispanics at the bottom. And according to Grant Cardone here, white people should be ashamed of themselves, because how is basically people who from another country outpacing you in terms of earnings? So, it kind of plays into that concept that has been very popular, a talking point these days in the last few years, white privilege, right? So this country in USA built for white people, some people would argue, and yet white people are on average not at the top of the food chain. I would argue that this is a part of the changing culture of America, in that people who aren't quote unquote considered the norm are changing what the norms are. And I'm gonna shoot over to this article to kind of discuss why that might be the case. So I was looking, and one of the articles I saw by a gentleman, he goes by the name. Get rid of some of this stuff here. It goes by the name Harsh, and I can't pronounce that last name, but he is the chairman of a company called RPG Enterprises, and he put out this chart on X. And so he talked about the fact that Indians were the highest earning in the USA. And then he gives his reasons why. And so he says they value education and are the most educated ethnic group. 70% of Indian Americans, according to this article, have a bachelor's degree. We work very hard, along with being very frugal in our habits. They are smart. And then they tend to work in IT, engineering, and medicine, ergo, the highest paying jobs in America. And then attached to his tweet here, he also attaches this particular chart. And so, what's going on here? See here. I can make this chart a little bit bigger. So attached to his tweet here, it says, as you can see, it says Indian Americans at the top 100,000 on average. And then what I found interesting, it doesn't necessarily list, well, it lists a bunch of different Asian Americans. So you got Filipino here, you got Taiwanese here, you have Sri Lanka here, you have Japanese here, you have Malaysians here, Chinese Americans here. Then you have Pakistani Americans. They're not Asian, but you can see you have several Asians related countries. And then you hit white people. And then you hit some more Asian countries after that. Korea, Indonesia. And then as you get down, you got Thai, Bangladesh, Nepal, and then bringing up the rear, Hispanics and African Americans. Now, according to this article, this information is from a study based in 2012, 2013, 2012, 2013, 2015. But it talks about the idea that according to a 2019 study, Indians are still leading the front, but Asian Americans are coming in right behind them again. So the stats haven't changed too much. So when I think about this, there are some that would hear this, and I would assume you'd probably argue that there is some sort of conspiracy as it relates to these numbers and as it relates to Black people and Hispanics, and that the country is purposely trying to keep them down, which is why they are where they're at. I have a different take on that, because when you look at Asian families, right? What's the core of Asian families? When you look at the average, the first core that you notice is that they're a family. And what I mean by that is that there's a mom and there's a dad in the household. So that's one of the core pieces to that puzzle that I notice when we're talking about Asian families. Here's the second core. Education, as the gentleman said in his tweet, is very important to the concept, meaning they are pushing their kids to be not only high school graduates, but college graduates as well, right? And then looking at the jobs, IT, engineering, medicine, that means there's probably a graduate degree involved as well. He talked about the fact that they were smart, but Black and Hispanics are smart too. And then the last thing, of course, is the job choice. IT, engineering, medicine. And so when I think about Black families, Hispanic families, what is the differences that we're seeing between those families and ours? The first place I start is family. Because while the parents might have come here as immigrants, the kids were either born here, or if they weren't born here, they were brought here at a younger age. They've got their college degree, they've got their IT, engineering, their medicine job, and then now they build a family, and now they marry a lady who is, maybe she's a stay-at-home wife. More often than not, she also is in IT, engineering, or medicine as well. And as a result, now they got two people averaging a few $100,000 a year, depending on the choice that they made. And now as a family, they are making roughly $200,000 a year or more. A great example of that is the gentleman that just ran for president, Vivek Ramaswamy. Vivek Ramaswamy's parents came here, raised him in Iowa. He was born here. I don't know too much about his wife, but I do know his wife is a doctor. And then, of course, he went into, I think his degree was in science, but then he went into venture capitalist, eventually began a company, a medicine-related company, and then, of course, the rest is history. Okay? The other piece of that puzzle that he talked about is they are frugal. So, again, when I think about the average Black family, frugal is not typically how you would describe us. For those that have means, they get, right? Their kids, they get a great house. They get, and they're not even a great house. They get a great house, but that house that they get is usually, if it's not the max of what their income allows, it's right beneath it, right? Right, like just a slight hair above it. But even if they get it below, they still got the nice car. Their kids have the nicest things, right? And so a lot of Black families are living right at or above their means. And so that's not, of course, frugal, right? Because when you're frugal, you're always living beneath your means. That way you have extra income because you're already living below what you can actually afford. 2, family. We got a lot of single families in Black and Hispanic communities, more than most, certainly more than Asian American families. And so now, instead of building a household off of 2 incomes, you're building households off of 1 income. And I don't know how you slice it. Unless that 1 income is $500,000 a year, which on average it is not, it's always going to be a struggle because you're trying to do off of 1 income what most people are doing off of 2. So they're automatically doubling you even before you get started, even if you make a great salary, even if you go and you're a doctor, let's say, and you're a single mom as a doctor, right? Yeah, you're a doctor and you may make 100,000, but your counterparts are married and both of them make 100,000. So you're still halfway behind. Second thing, education. We're getting to a point in this country where we don't value education anymore because, there's a truth in this, which is that the wealthiest people in the world don't have jobs. The wealthiest people in the world are building businesses. They own a company, they're growing their company, and they're expanding that company to be whatever it is. That is true. But it's also true that the majority of people in the world are going to have a job. And so if you're going to have a job, why settle for the easy job, why not go for the hard job? Why not go for the IT, the engineering, the medicine? Because at the end of the day, if you have that job, you're not going to be one of the people who averages 50,000. You're going to put yourself in a category of one of the people who's going to start at 100K or more. So right there, your footing is already going to be better than the average person. The average person is making 45 to 50K a year. That's the average person. Secondly, there's a problem that we have, and the reason why we aren't going, because a lot of our kids can't read and can't do math. To me, it piggybacks on the first problem. We don't have families. We don't have families where moms and dads together in a household is the norm. Because what we find when we do have those things, we find these tend to not be the kids who can't read, who can't do math at grade level. So we're missing the family. So therefore, the kids aren't at the level that they should from an educational standpoint. Now, even though they may want the IT, engineering, medicine job, they don't have the skills necessary to get there. And so we're already behind. Not because we're black, not because somebody stopped us from getting there, but because we haven't set up the foundation for our children to be successful. And so when I hear that video, I can hear it now. There's tons of people listening to that video and going, this guy is racist. I've heard him before. Blah, 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 blah. But I hear that video and I'm thinking, well, what are they doing that they're there? What is it that we need to do to get there and go beyond so that we're not at the bottom? Because most of these people didn't come here with silver spoons in their mouth. A lot of black people don't have silver spoons in their mouth, but they don't have a set of values that get them to a place that's going to lead to success. Which is why I hate these conversations that don't talk about the family and building strong families as the solution for how we get to the next level. Because if we're not having that conversation, we're not talking. We are placating and allowing people to continue to stay in the rut. And so I was encouraged by this video because it gives a blueprint to get to the next level. You want your kid not to be averaging $45,000 a year? You need to stretch education to your kid. You need to let your kid know, hey, to be successful in this country, you need to get a college education. Not only that, when you get the college education, you need to get a STEM degree. A sociology degree is don't pay. Psychology degrees don't pay. Everybody has a business education degree. A business administration degree. So if you're not focused on finance or HR, you're wasting your time there too. Do the careers or encourage our kids to do the careers that actually pay money, that actually will be needed years from now. Instead of them encouraging them to just graduate high school and being happy about it. High school is great, and it's the stepping stone you need to get to the next level. But if we're going to change the trajectory so that black folk are not always at the bottom when it comes to income, we need to teach these babies how to read. We need to teach these babies how to do math at a high level. And we need to encourage them to go into the career fields that actually pay six figures. And if we can do that, this notion that we're always at the bottom is going to go away. If we can focus on building strong families, because every black family that has a mom and a dad who's focused and it's doing the right thing, those kids are doing the right thing too. Those kids are moving up to the next level after higher than what their parents are doing. So we know what the blueprint is. At what point are we going to follow it and stop chasing ancillary issues and tackle the issue that really will solve all our problems? And on that note, I'm B. Period, and I'm out.